Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a look into the Christian Light Education Language Arts Level 4 program. The Christian Light Education Language Arts curriculum has continued to be honestly one of the most sound and well-rounded language arts curriculum that we have ever used, or honestly that I've really ever come across. This is going to be our 4th consecutive year using it, and I'm so excited to be able to sit down and talk to you guys about what the 4th grade entails. If you are still in the process of looking for a language arts program that is very well thought out and thorough, is Christ-centered, and really does help your child become an independent learner, I think this would be a great fit for your family. So going back a few years for when I was first starting to really look at different language arts curriculum, CLE really stood out to me because it kind of had everything I needed into one book, but was also very sound and thorough. One thing I was trying to avoid when it came to looking for a language arts kind of program and things like that is I did not want to buy a separate spelling, a separate penmanship, a separate grammar, a separate writing, like anything like that. I was trying to find an all-inclusive thing. However, some of the all-inclusive language arts programs that I looked at, I wasn't really blown away by everything that entailed, or it was missing in maybe how thorough it was or maybe how sound it was. And I just love the Christian Light Education approach to where it is truly a mastery-based program. It's kind of like Mastery Spiral, where every single day you are being introduced to a new concept, you are learning new things every single day. However, there's so much review that I found I haven't really had to supplement at all, especially with my soon-to-be upcoming 4th grader. I haven't had to supplement at all, and this is his 4th year using it, and his skills and knowledge within all the language arts facets have just grown beautifully, and I have thoroughly been enjoying it in our homeschool. Something else that I always try to look for within a curriculum is that it really aligns with our values, and I do love that they do interweave beautiful scriptures and beautiful high moral character stories within the curriculum, and I love that, so I don't have to worry about anything contradicting what our family truly already believes. So if you're brand new to the program itself is broken up into 10 different light units. Today I only am going to be flipping through the first 5 light units, and I'll be explaining why I only purchase 5 at a time when we turn the camera around and get into the flip through. But the program is divided into 10 different light units, and I love this for so many different reasons. One of the top ones though is that they're very manageable and doable, especially for the little years. And by little years, I kind of mean under the 5th grade and below, but they're very doable. So it's not overwhelming to the child. So if your little one might get overwhelmed with having a large book in front of them and seeing everything that there is to learn, even though that can be exciting, some little ones really prefer doing little bite-sized, small little chunks at a time. And Christian Light Education does a beautiful job in making sure that everything is manageable, but also very thorough for your little ones. I love it because it's not only not overwhelming for your little ones, but they also get a huge sense of accomplishment. Like whenever my little ones complete their light unit, there's this huge celebration. They get so excited, and they look forward to the following week, or whatever day it is. They look forward to the following day when they get to put away their old one and start a new one. They just feel so excited, and just having that sense of accomplishment with them makes it just beautiful. I really do love being able to have that opportunity to close the old and open up the new 10 times throughout the year. Also, if you guys are new to the curriculum, they do give you the option to purchase every single light unit individually. So if you do want to try it out, see if it works without committing to a whole year, I love that you can just spend $5, try it out for that first couple of weeks and see if it will work for your family before committing to the whole year. And I love that they have that. They also have the scope and sequence all laid out online for you. So if you do want to see where your child is at, you can do that. They also have placement tests, and I also believe that they can send you free samples as well if you do want to give it a try to your family. It's one of the very few curriculums that I have found to be, again, so sound and thorough when it comes to the language arts program. Anyways, I need to stop with this intro and actually get into the flip through. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the camera, and we are going to dive in to see what is inside level 4. So jumping into the Christian Light Education Language Arts 4. The reason why I only like getting 5 light units at a time, or I should say the first half of the curriculum, is if something does come up and I'm finding that we do need to make a switch or we do need to make a change, maybe something's not working. I love that I've only spent, $25 or $26 for the first part of the year versus the $53. It's one of the most affordable language arts, like all-inclusive language arts programs out there. It is $53 for all 10 light units. So if you get all 10 light units plus the teacher guide is $21.50. It's an all over cost. However, if I get half at a time plus the light units, I'm still only about like in the $50 range still to get started with our first entire half of the year, which is a great cost thing. But anyway, as I was saying, I only get half at a time in case I do find that I need to make a switch halfway throughout the year. And to be honest, I'm not sure why I do this, because I've used this consecutively all the way through the year for 4 years now, and I don't really see us making a change yet, or even now. So I don't know why I did that again this year, because I know we'll probably stick with it for the whole year. But I guess in my mentality, it's just a money saving thing for starting out the school year, because I know when we are homeschool mamas, when we start a new school year, curriculum adds up very quickly and it's very expensive. So if a curriculum company gives me the option to purchase half at a time, it's actually a huge blessing, because I'm buying this one, I'm buying the set for my third grader, because she's also doing the Christian Light Education program. I also am doing the Christian Light Education math, and then all the other new little curriculum pieces that we're buying. And so I love that this company allows me to break it up and only buy half at a time, or you could do 3 at a time or 1 at a time if you wanted to just try it out for your family without committing for the whole year. And I just think that's one of the greatest blessings when it comes to a consumable, switching it up and doing half a year at a time. So that's why I only have the first 5 light units. So some of the extra additional things that you can choose to purchase with the 3rd and 4th grade level is going to be the language arts reference chart. This chart is amazing. It's going to have everything that your child is going to really be learning underneath just one little sheet here. So you have your parts of speech, what's a pronoun, adjectives, punctuation, your verb, your adverbs. In the back, it goes over sentence structure, 4 kinds of sentences, diagramming, and I love this as well. So back last year when I was doing the McGuffey readers and using that as my language arts program, I actually used this alongside with that. And as we were opening up the McGuffey readers and opening up the story, we would go through this and we would pick out all the little things within that curriculum. But we decided to just switch and only do that for reading, but I still kept this because I knew we were going to be coming back to the light units. But this is an additional add-on, and the cost of this, I want to say, is $4.50, so $4.50. A couple of other components that you can get with the curriculum: they do have extra practice sheets, and every single grade will have an extra little booklet. It looks exactly like this, and it's about the same size, but it's called just extra practice sheets. And I've never had to purchase that because I found with just so much review within the curriculum, I haven't had to use, again, any supplementation. There's also some other, I believe these are right here, yeah, some language arts information charts, they call them. So we have dividing syllables on one side, suffixes, going through all those. We have plural nouns, capitalization, and then we also have our state abbreviations on one side and your province abbreviations as well. There also is a little book, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. I don't remember if I picked it up or not, but it's a little blue book. It's called The Basics of Diagramming, and that is also an optional thing or an optional addition to get to use with this curriculum. And then they also have the language arts for answer key. That's separate. If you buy the teacher guide, so if you buy this right here, you do not need the answer key. However, if you are a very well-seasoned homeschooler, they do have the option to just have the answer key, where all it is the answers for the problems. But if you are new to the program, you're new to homeschooling, or maybe you feel more comfortable having an actual guide to help you as a mama, this is amazing. And we'll flip through this as well and tell you kind of like how it works together. Anyway, that is a brief rundown of all the components that are optional. The only set things I would 100% recommend would be, well, of course, the necessity to do the program, your light units, and then the teacher's guide is incredible as well. And then just for ease, out of all the charts, this is the one, let me see if I can find it really quick. This is the one that I found to be the most useful and that we actually go back to. So going over the 4th grade program and what it entails. You, of course, are going to always start out with your notes to teacher and student, how to administer the light units, what the different symbols mean, and the teacher guide as well. We'll go over this as well, how to grade, guidelines for self-scoring, things like this. Section 1, our English language, following instructions, using an index. And I found that with the Christian Light Education program specifically, is the first light unit is pretty much all review from the previous year. Like they do a pretty large overlap for reviewing, picking up where we left off. So section 1, our English language, we go through that. And if you're brand new to the program, the way this is laid out is that kind of spiral mastery approach combined, where you are having your new concept. Again, the first light unit is kind of all similar review, but you're gonna have your new concept, you're going to have the practice of the new concept, and then you're going to have your penmanship section, your spelling section for all of that. And then for lesson 2, again, something new, practicing something new. On the flip page, you're going to have a big section of We Remember, more penmanship, and the We Remember sections are going to be all throughout the book because this is where your mastery comes into play because you really are reviewing every single concept every single day, and then you have a large chunk of spelling. So sentence or fragment, this is another thing that we learned last year as well, capitalization rules. Again, a lot of review, a large We Remember section, spelling, more penmanship, all throughout that. So this curriculum, what I found, really does build true mastery. So the grammar concepts, English concepts, whatever you want to call them, they're not just taught once and forgotten. They really are reviewed again and again in different ways, so kids retain what they learn. And I love that when they are reviewing, they're not doing the same type of review every day. It really is a different way that they're implementing it, if that makes sense. So it's not just when we do the We Remember section, they're not just having the child do the same type of review. It's very different, which I find, again, they retain it so much better when it's learned multiply in different ways. The writing assignments that they do give throughout this curriculum are very meaningful. They are really beautifully done and they're not fluffy, if that makes sense. So even the dictation and sentence diagramming are presented in ways that I feel like just make sense and stick. At least they stick for my 3rd and 4th grader. This program is what I would consider to be academically rigorous, but I found that it's rigorous without it being very extremely dry. So if your child has used CLE in earlier grades, the 4th grade is honestly just going to feel like a natural next step in that beautiful kind of spiral mastery approach. And what I also enjoy about this is the like the biblical content, I think, is woven in really thoughtfully and gently. And so I love that the moral tone of the lessons support what we're really already teaching at home, and I love that. Every single light unit is going to have a light unit test. I've mentioned before on my channel multiple times that as a homeschool mama, my children are becoming more independent, and as they become fully independent in their learning, I am 100% this year probably going to be administering the light unit test at the end of every light unit if they are working independently. Like my 4th grader is 100% pretty much independent on his math, and I would say probably 90% independent on his language arts program, apart from the new concepts. This is something every single morning when we sit down together, I am going over the brand new concepts, and then once he gets to the large We Remember sections, because again, every single day the We Remember review sections are greater than the new concept being taught. That is when I will say, okay, here's what we're doing today. We'll walk through to give the instructions. If you have any questions, of course, Mommy's right here, let me know. But he's mostly independent when it comes to all the We Remember stuff. At least he was last year, so I'm expecting him to be even more fully independent this year. Because of that, At the end of every day, I'm going to go ahead and mention this as well. It's really important to check the work and not just say, okay, it's done, let's close the book, but to go ahead and make sure all the problems are correct. But if your child is really independent as well, I would say go ahead and administer the light unit tests. Last year, I did not use a test very much because I was still kind of right there with him the whole time, walking him through things and going through everything. So I didn't really administer the test because I already knew where he was at with the concepts and understanding of them. But if you do have those multiple grades and you do need to make sure that they understand concepts, then that test is a great way to do that as well. All the quizzes here are going to be in the back. So we have quiz 2 and extra activity. We actually did do the quizzes when we did this as well, just because it has an extra reinforcement and things like that. So this curriculum works especially well for kids who thrive with consistency and structure. Definitely children who thrive with structure. It would be a great fit if you want them to grow in independence with very clear expectations of what to expect every single day. In the back of the light units, you're of course going to have all of the extra things that your lessons will point you towards. So in the back, or in the lessons, you're going to have, okay, go to creative writing day 2. We're going to work on that. You have a light unit test. Throughout the lessons, you're going to say, okay, turn to page 61 and do penmanship exercise 1, penmanship exercise 2, 3, 4, 6, etc. For that. And then same with this as well. It's going to show you as you're doing the lessons, for when you get to the penmanship part, it's going to tell you, okay, jump back to page 62. We're going to do penmanship exercise number 7 today. And of course, in your back, you have your glossary. And if you are also not familiar with the program, or if it's your first time, all throughout the lessons, your children will be needing to flip to the back of the book to again gain access to their penmanship exercises, the glossary that they'll be looking up for. And then they have their spelling word bookmarks in the back, and this is going to be their spelling for the 4th grade level. So at the beginning, what I normally do, because I don't say normally, I'm saying what I'm doing this year differently because I've learned from the last 2 years, is when my little ones cut out the spelling word bookmarks, I am going to go ahead and pre-cut this out per light unit. So every single light unit is going to have a section of spelling words or spelling words to work on. I'm going to cut these out and keep them up separately, probably in just like a little file. That way they don't get lost. Because last year I felt like we were always losing them, and then we'd be like, okay, well, find your section 3 spelling list and section 2, section 1, whatever the case may be. And like, oh man, I don't know where it is. And so I'm gonna keep them separate. And what I love about this as well is they're gonna be practicing, because every single day they're gonna be writing some of the spelling words out or using them in sentences, things like that. I love that on the back they have cursive. So we're gonna be working on writing our spelling words in cursive, which I absolutely love. And of course in the back you have all of your extra quizzes if you choose to administer those. So that's a look into number 1 and kind of how it's laid out. So for section 2, as you can tell, as we've already been flipping through the first one here, that this is not a flashy or colorful language arts program. So if your child does need more visual stimulation or wants a more relaxed approach, it may take some time getting used to, but just the clarity that it offers and the depth, in my opinion, are absolutely worth it and giving it a try. Even though it does take some time getting used to, I will say, especially if you're coming from that more colorful, vibrant curriculum. Section 1, we're now doing subject-verb agreement, adjectives, diagramming sentences, and honestly, in their 3rd grade level, at this point, we're in the 2nd light unit. He already learned how to diagram sentences in his previous year, and he already knows possessive nouns. He already knows the difference between common and proper nouns. So this is honestly a lot of different review, but a lot of different added in creative writing, which is going to be the focus, I feel like, for this year. So your subject-verb agreement, again, every single light unit is laid out the exact same way, where you have your brand new concept, which mommy sits down and goes over, and then we have a very large review section. And this is what I was talking about in the previous light unit when it says penmanship. So go to page 60 in your book here, and then there you go. That's where they're going to be practicing writing for that day. Write each cursive capital letter 5 times. So you are going to want to grab a separate notebook for their penmanship exercises, and then write each river name once. So I guess you could write it down here too, technically, if you wanted, if you don't mind it not being lined. And then you have your spelling section, and then practicing your spelling concepts down here. So next part, we are going into adjectives, so learning all about adjectives, which again we already kind of covered in our 3rd grade level. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we've been using this program really from the early grades on. So from their very first grade language arts program all the way to 4th grade here. And I can truly honestly say that my little ones are really becoming very confident in grammar, writing complete sentences, and really understanding how language works without me constantly needing to reteach or supplement. And for me, what I found is there's something honestly just peaceful about opening the CLE Light Unit, because I know that it's structured, dependable, and it really works. And I find that I don't have to worry about whether or not something's working. And I think that is a lot, has a lot to do with all the review that they do give, is I know that my children are going to truly master concepts. And this is something that might be slightly controversial, is I don't think that every single curriculum needs to be fun. Because sometimes I think as a homeschool mama, I can sometimes get caught up in making sure that my children have fun. And while I do think that's important, I also think that there's some things that I just need it to be sound and thorough. And we do have a ton of just different fun and enriching things that we've added into our homeschool, but there's some things that it's okay if it's not bright and colorful, because to me, if it's doing its job and it being structured, dependable, and it actually works, I feel like that's more important than, oh, is it bright and colorful, if that makes sense, for different curriculums. And I think I have also gotten caught up in the look of a curriculum versus whether or not this is actually going to work. And I do also think that a testament to the curriculum is if it actually is sticking. So with my little ones, we use the McGuffey readers for our reading program, and what I found is I know that they're mastering concepts in here because we can flip over to our reading book, which is a very minimal approach to our reading curriculum. And I can ask them questions about stuff they've learned in here, and they just know it. They automatically know. Like, they know the difference between that adjective and the adverb and all the different little English parts. So when I do ask them a question, I know that they're truly understanding the difference. Like, they know the difference between two, and two, they, and there. You know, things like that when it comes to that. And I really do attribute that to having just so much review and a solid understanding of language arts and how it works together. For 403, I'm going to show you a little bit what is involved in these few just quickly, and then we're going to open up the teacher guide. That's one of the most important parts of this curriculum. So section 1, we're going through the golden rule. This is what I was talking about when it comes to interweaving those high moral characters and biblical values beautifully throughout the curriculum. So going through Matthew 7:12, guidelines for practicing the golden rule, and things like that. So in the by the time you get to the 3rd light unit here, you're doing homophones, pronouns, you're giving directions, titles of respect, which we honestly kind of already did that in the last year too. Possessive pronouns, which we've kind of already covered, dictionary, definitions, pronunciations. The dictionary exercises, this can be up to you whether or not you want to teach them to use the full dictionary or teach them how to safely use something online and combine the two things together. Last year we did do the dictionary exercises. However, I also am trying to teach them how to safely look things up online by doing it this way as well. So I kind of combine the two. Like, we're learning online safety by looking up the different pronunciations and how to say things, but we're also doing it the old-fashioned way and have all the dictionaries as well. So that's important to learn both of them well. So that is, okay, so section 3, using its and its, which we've kind of already covered a little bit, conjunctions, compound subjects. So by 404, let me look it up here, we are going to be going over verb tenses, so present, past, and future. Pronouns can be subjects. We're going to be learning how to write thank you notes, addressing envelopes, which is covered a little bit in the last grade. Finding fragments within paragraphs, using teach and learn. Sit and set, helping verbs. And then we have some more diagramming, a bunch of creative writing, plural nouns, things like that, which we've kind of already did the plural and singular thing in the last year as well. So that's good to see, because it tells you that from every single year, going from 3rd grade to 4th grade, you're still in review. You're really consistently reviewing and truly mastering the concept. So more helping verbs. Let me go back here to the contents. Be, being, and been, run-on sentences, quotation marks, more about possessive nouns, unity in paragraphs, word forms in a dictionary, compound verbs, your present and past being verbs, so have, has, and had, your seasons of interesting adjectives, punctuation and quotations, and more creative writing and clustering, I should say. So that's a look at the first half of the program. I'm going to link for you guys down below the entire scope and sequence for the 4th grade level, so you guys can see what is in the second half. And you can honestly print that out, the scope and sequence, that you can put it on your fridge or in your kiddo's learning binder, and you can kind of see where you're going to be headed in the upcoming year. I love doing that. It lets me see the big picture of kind of everything that's going on for the upcoming year. So the scope and sequence is a beautiful, beautiful thing to have on hand, and I will link that down below so you guys can see the second half of the program. So the actual teacher guide for the Language Arts 4, it's an amazing teacher guide. I would definitely recommend getting a full-on guide versus just the actual answer key, but it does, I guess, depend on how comfortable you are with teaching different concepts. But you have your Introduction to Language Arts 4, Components of Language Arts. We already went over some of the components. You have the teacher guide, where it's going to show you very in detail the objectives, class preparation, board preparation, vocabulary words, and things like that. And this is one thing that I was missing a little bit in the years that I chose not to purchase the full-on teacher guide, is really preparing us well to teach our children well. And so I'm trying to get better at being a better teacher, I should say, for my children. So the Language Arts 401 Section 1 is going to give a very detailed look at everything that you need to do as a homeschool mama. And I say everything that you need to do. It's very flexible, so you don't have to do anything, or you can do everything. It's up to you. But the objectives for the first lesson, so you're going to learn study words. So learn that many English words are derived from other languages, identify ways we use language, and learn 3 steps to help follow instructions. This is going to be your kind of premise for the first lesson here. Your study words that are going to be in here is I'm going to go ahead and open up 401 so I can show you how this is going to work together. 1 second, find 401. Okay, here we go. So let me go to 401 Section 1. And I'm going to show you how you would use this together with your little one. So right here, your study words. Down here, you have your study words, communicate, and vocabulary. This lets you know as a teacher that, hey, these are the study words that your students are going to be learning about. So we're going to read and discuss the study words with our children. The study words are bold for the first time they are used in a lesson, so they're right here. So have students find each study word in the lesson text, and each child should have a turn to read the study word and definitions aloud to your teacher. So they're going to take these, we're going to read them together, and then define the definition of those. So our English language, we're going to talk about that a little bit. So it's a little bit scripted. I wouldn't say it's 100% scripted, but there is script in here. So if you are more confident and having a guide tell you exactly what to say, this will offer some of that, not 100%, but it does offer you things to say. So you're going to start out telling your students about our English language. We're going to go through the difference between Old English and Modern English. So if you want to do that, again, you don't have to. If you're wanting something strictly just open and go, it's fine. you can do this. And then over here, it's going to follow along with your children on following instructions. So you're going to read how we're going to learn about following instructions, and this is the part that your child will read. And then down here, it's going to tell you what your child is going to do for penmanship, and then it's going to close out the lesson with, again, telling your student kind of what to do and how to do that. So that's a look a little bit at the teacher guide. It's really going to give you as a mama that structure and guidance, and making sure that all the different facets of language arts is being covered. This is one that we are being very consistent with using, and we're excited about using it this year again, because I've just seen so much growth for our family, and we love it. But just because you love it and use it does not mean you have to, or just because our family loves this style, it might not work for you, and I think that's okay. And that's one of my favorite things, and one of the most beautiful things about homeschooling is we can continue using things that work. We can lay aside things that don't without feeling bad or any pressure in doing one thing or the other. So I just love sharing what works for our family, because it's been a blessing to our home. I appreciate every single one of you, and until my next video, you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless. Bye guys.